We just got a major hint about the future of Steven Universe, specifically towards where a future series could be headed, as it probably wouldn't air on Cartoon Network. And if things work out, this one platform may guarantee a peak viewing experience, resolving a lot of issues fans had with Steven Universe when it comes to both its structure and release schedule. Let's break it down. Also, if you're new to the channel or feeling a stroll down memory lane, be sure to check out Roundtable Rewind, a new channel that has a bunch of Roundtable videos, old and new, re-edited into themed compilations. We got 4 out right now on Gravity Falls, Steven Universe, regular show, and a variety of cartoon topics that you can check out, with more on the way. And if you want to help us afford more cool art, like this thumbnail by the homie Art with Coda, consider supporting us for only $1 over on our Patreon. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now let's dive in. So for those of you out of the loop, Rebecca Sugar has been encouraging fans to make some noise online if they want to see more Steven Universe, strongly implying that they want to bring back the series. We had that brand new poster that gave us a peek at a new status quo, and now there's going to be 2 big reunion live streams with a bunch of cast members over on the Streamly YouTube channel in November. Like, pretty much all of the core cast is showing up. So maybe Sugar's taking initiative and will make a big push for a revival on these streams. We'll see what happens. But what sparked this video is a now deleted tweet from the GOAT Ian JQ, creator of OKKO and Rebecca Sugar's husband. Fans have been organizing trend parties to get the hashtag Renew Steven Universe circulating over on Twitter. And recently, during one of these events, Ian quoted with, "There's a specific streaming service that's a prime target for this campaign. If we got to make more, it would really be amazing." Hey guys, do you think he was too subtle? This is a pretty clear indication that Amazon Prime Video could be home to the next Steven Universe series. The fact Ian prompted this at all has left people wondering if they met with Prime Video already to discuss the possibility of a new show. For all we know, they might have pitched something. Now, Prime Video might seem like a random choice at face value, but it makes a lot of sense. In recent years, they added shows like Dexter's Lab, Ed, Edd n Eddy, and Teen Titans. They also rescued Batman Caped Crusader from cancellation after it was dropped from Max's lineup. They put in the work to build a good relationship with Warner Discovery and the Cartoon Network brand. So this could be their next big step. And you may be wondering, why not Max? Why are we foregoing the streaming service owned by the same company as Cartoon Network? It's not like they don't already have hits like Fiona and Cake and... Max seems to be slowly phasing out animation. You guys probably already know that they purged plenty of their originals from the platform, like Close Enough and Infinity Train. They barely gave shows like Fired on Mars a chance to succeed. Cartoon Network's catalog has been reduced by like 80%, losing major players like Regular Show and Gumball, despite them having new seasons on the way. Even their critically acclaimed hit, Scavenger's Reign, is now on Netflix. Although Max still has it on their platform, they just won't renew it themselves, so its future has been placed in Netflix's hands. Yeah, good luck with that one. Following the Max purge, a ton of Cartoon Network shows were added to Hulu, including, for a brief period of time, I'm talking not even a whole day, Adventure Time Distant Lands and Fiona and Cake. 2 Adventure Time series that are Max originals. They haven't even aired on cable and probably never will. Because they weren't up for long, I doubt they were supposed to be added this soon, but I think the fact they were up on Hulu at all shows that they're probably gonna move over there eventually. Why else would Hulu get access to all of their episodes if that wasn't the case? All of these companies are, well, companies. They gotta think about their bottom dollar, and it's way more profitable selling shows to other services than to invest millions per show and rely solely on subscriptions to make your money back. So they seem to be pivoting into a direction of making new installments in popular franchises and getting a bag out of selling those big name series to other platforms, or co-producing series with streaming services, like how the new Fairly Odd Parents was a partnership between Netflix and Nick, airing on Nick first and then heading to Netflix a few months later. With all this said, what would a Steven Universe show on Prime even look like? Does it really fit amongst titles like The Boys, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and The Rings of Power? Is Prime a good home for Steven Universe? The answer, to me, is pretty obvious. No. It's a great home. Over the last few years, Prime has not only amassed one of the strongest catalogs of new animated series amongst the major streaming services, but it's also the one that has treated animation with the most respect. It hasn't been perfect, but they seem to be the only ones giving cartoons strong marketing campaigns, consistent release schedules, and they're not afraid to order multiple seasons at once instead of one at a time, which means we're actually starting to get these seasons on a yearly basis. Now let me emphasize, Prime is doing all 3 of those things instead of just 1 or 2. It feels like other other services do the bare minimum when pushing new animated series, and honestly, they tend to bury their animated offerings in favor of reality shows like Love Island or the latest limited series of a blockbuster budget. Over at Prime Video, not only is animation treated with the same level of respect as live action projects, but it's indisputably a huge draw to the Prime library. Just this year we've had Invincible and Has Been Hotel trend worldwide on its platform, with both series landing on the #1 spot on its top 10 for multiple weeks. The only animated series that might have been done dirty by them in recent years, aside from the future cult classic Fairfax, is Batman Caped Crusader. The marketing for the show wasn't all that strong, and they dropped all 10 episodes at once instead of a weekly release. That might be whatever depending on your preference, but I maintain the position that weekly releases are elite. But yeah, Caped Crusader's rollout was a bit of a wet fart, and while that is disappointing, it's worth keeping in mind that this is a series Prime rescued from Max after it was dropped by Warner Discovery in the middle of production, and they renewed it for a second season. So clearly they believe in it. Plus other Prime shows like Mr. and Mrs. Smith had all of its episodes drop at once, and that was a show that had a huge marketing push, it was a hit, and it's getting a second season. So the release strategy really just seems to depend on what show they feel is best viewed through a weekly experience versus binging all at once. For those not familiar with Prime's release strategy, a lot of shows such as The Boys, Gen V, and Invincible start each season with 3 episodes already available, and then 1 episode a week until the season's over. So seasons usually run for a month or so, getting a ton of momentum through social media as the hype builds up more and more each week. Once again, Prime Video isn't perfect, but it's easy to see why it's already a great candidate for more Steven Universe. We'd be going from a channel that barely advertised a series after a while, giving it a super inconsistent schedule, premiering episodes months apart from each other, and leaving fans with limited accessibility as there were little reruns, and new episodes were only released online through the Cartoon Network app, to a platform that's getting a grip on consistent releases, has good marketing, and is accessible to literally anyone with a Prime subscription, which is millions of people. You can see how this would be a big win for Steven Universe. But this is just one aspect of the conversation, and it doesn't really shed light on how being on Prime could change Steven Universe as a show. And I do think a Steven Universe series that's tailor-made for streaming, and especially Prime, would look a lot different from the original show. Off the top of my head, I do think they'd go for something I've suggested plenty of times before, and pivot to a teen or adult demographic to fit in with Prime's other animated series. Most of Prime's animated catalog consists of adult animation. Invincible, Has Been, Vox Machina, the list goes on. I honestly love it because I think it's helping push back against the stigma that animation is just for kids. I already made my case for why the next Steven show should make the leap into adult animation. So instead of reiterating that all over again, I want to talk about how this show would be structured and how long each episode would be. Because a lot of people who were heavily invested in the lore and serialization side of Steven Universe felt like the 11-minute episodes just weren't cutting it. But here's the thing, Prime originals tend to either be half hours or hour long, including their animated content. I cannot see Steven Universe coming back through Prime and it's still 11-minute episodes. It's not impossible, but I would bet more on 22-minute episodes like Fiona and Cake. The 22-minute episodes tend to be some of the better paced episodes of Steven Universe, so I'd be game for a whole show in that format. However, there is a downside, and it's one that every show on a streaming service faces: low episode counts. There used to be a time where streaming shows were a healthy 12 episodes per season, but the number has shrunk more and more as the years go by. Amazon Prime shows are usually 8-episode seasons, regardless of if they're an hour long or just a half hour. So I could only imagine the same would happen with Steven. Maybe 10 if we're lucky. There's pros and cons, although I already made it clear that I think it's mostly a negative. Less time to work with means tighter storytelling and a bigger focus on serialization, which is something Steven Universe fans used to foam at the mouth for. Imagine an entire season without townie episodes. But if they're given only a handful of episodes in the first place, there would probably still be pacing problems. Both Fiona and Has Been are criticized for their seasons moving a little too quickly, although with Fiona, it was mainly the last 2 episodes. I actually think that show has pretty solid pacing for the most part. They took their time setting things up, the climax just needed more time. Even Invincible Season 2 felt like it was moving a little too quickly for me. And that's just an adaptation of the comics. It already has a template to work with. But when you only have a couple of hours to tell an entire season-long narrative, things are gonna feel cramped at some point. It's just kinda inevitable. Now take this with the biggest grain of salt possible, but I think Prime would also beef up the budget, yet I don't think it necessarily go towards giving artists more time to work on the show to yield better animation. Instead, it go towards the voice cast. Invincible has a star-studded cast of amazing actors, and fans notice because they're quick to point out how much money Prime pours into the cast and soundtrack, yet it feels like they cheaped out when it comes to the animation. It's apparent that they invested a lot into the voices so they can market the show with these big names, while being content with the animation looking like your average episode of Ben 10 Alien Force. While I obviously would love if a new Steven Universe had time to cook in the oven and come out looking absolutely incredible, I wouldn't bet on it. But even so, Prime's habit of celebrity casting would actually work out for Steven Universe because of how many characters were voiced by big names, and thus only appeared once or twice before fading into obscurity or just becoming mute. After the success of Has-Been, I imagine that Prime's very interested in pursuing more Steven Universe because of the musical aspect. I can see songs being very prominent in the series after they took a backseat in Future, so Prime and Warner can push the music on streaming services and squeeze some vinyl money out of diehard fans. All in all, I do think Prime is the most ideal streaming service for Steven Universe to end up at, so I'm doing my part to make some noise, and I encourage you all to do the same. If you're interested in more Steven Universe, be respectful and just tag Prime Video on social media posts, letting them know that you'd want to see more. Make fan art, make TikToks, like that one person who keeps turning songs into brain rot. Let your voices be heard as crystal gems. But that's all I got for y'all today. Let me know if you think Prime Video would be a good fit for Steven Universe in the comments down below. And keep that conversation going over on Twitter and Insta at OstricVox and at Roundtable Vids. Shout out to Art Rakota for another amazing thumbnail. And if you enjoyed this video, please throw it a like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.